Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. You know, today we are continuing our look at each program, athletic program, as far as football and basketball is concerned within the Big 12, and just take a look back at 2024 and what the future may hold for each program. Today, we are taking a look at Kansas. Look, football, basketball, huge disappointments in both. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that. Kansas fans will all tell you the same story, but there may be some reasons why. We're going to dive into that a little bit and try to find out why and how they can possibly get better. So appreciate everybody sticking around and taking a look. Again, remember, before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to hit the notification bell. As always, dive into those comments. Let us know exactly what you don't like, where we can get better, what you like, all that good stuff, man. We really do appreciate it. Well, let's get into it. You know, Kansas, let's start with football. 5-7, 2024 season, gigantic disappointment. Not just from KU fans. I think in general, I think people were ready for Kansas to turn the corner. I think a lot of people thought, okay, they figured some stuff out. Lance Leipold's a good coach. They've got excellent talent. This is the team, you know, to get back to the Mark Mangino days. I've said it from the very beginning. I shouldn't say from the beginning, but I've said it for a long time. The worst mistake I think that has happened in the Kansas athletic program is when they fired Mark Mangino. Now, you can say whatever you want and say, well, he did this, he did that. I just don't believe some of the claims that came out about Mark Mangino. He coached me. He wasn't my favorite coach. I can tell you that right now because he said certain things to me and other people that I didn't agree with. And had I been an adult, I'd have knocked him out. I would have literally punched him right in the face. But I wasn't. I was a kid at the time, so it is what it is. But there are certain things that I just don't believe Mark Mangino did. Whatever, don't want to go down that road. But the worst mistake that they made was letting him go. He had the football program rolling. And I think pretty much every KU fan will admit this, they had an idiot at the athletic director at the time, didn't get along with him, got rid of him. And KU, I think it was 18 months later, I don't even know if it was that long, they were like, no, I'm sorry, we got the wrong guy as the athletic director, and got his ass up out of there. And they've struggled ever since. They've been a laughingstock ever since. Then you get Lance Leipold, you get things rolling, and, you know, it takes a minute, but it was going to take a minute. And they finally get to a place to where, okay, let's get some consistency. I think they've got it figured out, and they fall on their face. Now, you could say that expectations may have got the best of them. What I think is, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this enough, there were two things that happened in their 2024 season. One, the offensive coordinator and the quarterback did not mesh well. It didn't go well. For whatever reason, it just wasn't a good mesh. The offensive coordinator wanted to force feed throwing the football and throw it when KU would be running the ball at a 5.5, 6 yards a pop. And you're thinking to yourself, hey, man, the quarterback's struggling a little bit. Why don't you keep running the football because you're running it well? Didn't do it. Cost us some games. Two, they couldn't finish games. You know, KU had leads in a lot of those games. Let's go back to the schedule here. You just look at it. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, except for, I think, the West Virginia game. But even then, that game was super close. But let's just say all 5. They had the lead in the fourth quarter. Late. They had the lead. Couldn't finish. And a lot of that goes back to my previous point, is where they just would not run the football when they had an opportunity to run the football. And we're running it well. You know, we're running it well. So for whatever reason, like I said, the quarterback, who is ultra talented, by the way, but was struggling last year. There's no doubts about that. Jalen Daniels was struggling. We knew it. He ended up getting it together closer near the end of the season, but he struggled early for whatever reason. I'm not trying to put the blame on anybody, but the blame has to go on everybody, if that makes sense. And they just should have run the football more. I kept saying it week after week after week. You got the lead. You're running it well. Just run the damn ball. Get out of there with the win. Who cares what it looks like? But apparently, offensive coordinator, he cared. Then he goes off. They get a new offensive coordinator. I think that was best for everybody. Get a fresh start. Now, KU's kind of starting over. They got a lot of transfers. They're going to have new starters. But that's where it went wrong. Major disappointment. And just not being able to finish, it just crushed them. Not having a real home field advantage also crushed them. Now, initially, I fought back on that. I thought and said publicly all the time, like, look, it's KU. They're playing at Arrowhead Stadium. I get it's not Lawrence, Kansas, and I get they're not going to sell out any game, not even close to it. That's fine. But if you can get 40, 45,000 people in there, other than maybe Iowa State, it's going to be mostly KU people at the football game. And that turned out to be true. Guys are playing at Arrowhead, got to be excited about that, but that didn't turn out to be the case. They didn't have this crazy home field advantage like I anticipated that they would. Hopefully, now that they have their new stadium built, that they will get back to having a home field advantage, because that means something in college. I mean, it means something basically at every level of sports. But college football, we know that momentum, emotions are a huge part of the game. And to be able to have that at your home stadium, it just means something. It just means way more than, we're playing at Arrowhead. Again, I was wrong. I over-anticipated or overestimated, I guess is the best word, how good KU would be playing in Arrowhead. They weren't. I just thought it would be a fun atmosphere for the kids to feed off of, but they didn't for the most part. Hopefully they can get back to that. New stadium, a lot of enthusiasm, but you look at KU's schedule. I mean, look, first off, they play Fresno State. Fresno State is going to be, I think KU will win, but Fresno State is going to be better than what people anticipate. That's not going to be just some pushover football game, at least not the Fresno State that we've seen the last several years. That's not just going to be some pushover game. Then you got Wagner. Then you go to Missouri. I mean, you can hate Missouri. Missouri's not a bad football team. They're a pretty good football team. West Virginia, Cincinnati, at UCF, at Tech, K-State, Oklahoma State, at Arizona, at Iowa State, Utah. They don't have an easy schedule this year. I could see KU again going 5-7 with this schedule, but being a better football team than what they were last year. Or let me say this. The 5-7 record that KU had last year, they underachieved. This team could play at the best of their ability and be 5-7. So I guess technically this wouldn't be a better football team than last year, but maybe you get the most out of them. But they got to bounce back. I don't want them to have another 5-7 season, because then you're going to start losing fan support. You worked so hard to get fan support where it needed to be, or where you wanted it to be, and rising, by the way. You spent all that time and effort and digging yourself out of just a gigantic hole. You do all of that, and then for it to go back downhill. I don't think KU can afford to have another 5-7. I think you at least got to go 500 and go to a bowl. I don't know if you will. It's not the easiest schedule, but I think you have to be able to do that. Again, you got a talented quarterback, new coordinators on offense and defense. I got to believe that an emphasis on finishing football games is something they're working all off season on. I mean, if I see it, fans see it, the coaches had to see it. Just got to be able to finish football games. And if they can do that, they can turn it around. Again, not the easiest schedule, but if they can go 6-6 and go to a bowl game, okay, we got this thing going back the right direction. Not to where it was. Not to where it was. There's no doubt. It's not to where it was if you go 6-6. But at least you got the train going back uphill, because last year it was like this and it went, I mean, just a straight nosedive. That was terrible. That was terrible. At some point, hell, you even had the damn wife of the coach tweeting out about not having enough fan support. And I know people are, oh, she got hacked. No, she didn't. She got drunk and got on the wrong burner account and forgot and mixed things up and tweeted out from her personal account about fan support. Shame, shame, shame. That happened, by the way, people. And I know there'll be some KU fans that want to deny that. Why deny it? It happened. We know what happened. We know what happened. She mixed up her account from burner account and tweeted it out from her account on accident. Period. End of story. We all know it. And she told the truth. Or her truth anyway. It may not be the truth, but she told her truth. And they got to fix it. They got to fix it. And KU fans will be there. We all know it's a basketball school, but they'll be there if you put out a good product. Put out a good product, you'll get the support. You don't, they won't. It's that simple. Period. End of story. Let's move to basketball. Basketball at Kansas. Let's just be honest. Kansas ran the Big 12 for the better part of 2 decades. They were the team in the Big 12. There were other good teams in the Big 12. Other really good teams in the Big 12. But the standard bearer for the conference was KU, and it wasn't even a close second. Let's be honest. Wasn't even a close second. It was Kansas. The last couple of seasons, that has not been the case. Now, you can say, hey, come on, Big B. They won a national title in 2022. They did. But I said the last couple of seasons. The last couple of seasons has not been your typical KU basketball team. You know it, and I know it. Has not been the same. Now, there could be lots of reasons for it, but I think I've broken it down, and I've got a couple of reasons. Stick with me, hear me out. Let me know what you guys think. First off, Bill Self, his health and his, should I say this delicately, his undying loyalty to a fault. First off, his health. He had the heart attack 2 years ago. Who knows how long Bill Self has been battling issues? Now, I know he won a national title the year before that. Things look better, yada, yada, yada. But you don't know how long he had been battling it. I mean, if you look at pictures before and after, he didn't look like a human being that was doing well. You just look at pictures, look at interviews. He looks a hell of a lot better now than what he looked like before. So that could be part of it. And it finally came to a head. Okay. Next is his undying loyalty to guys. I'll just put it plain and simple. That's got to stop. That has got to stop. Bill Self is one of the best coaches in college basketball. I constantly said that he was the best coach in the Big 12 last year. I was probably praising him a little bit too much. I don't believe that he's the best coach in the Big 12 as of now. He's one of the best, for sure. But he's got to get back to what he was before. He's got to get back there. And you cannot continuously play guys when you have other guys that are sitting on the bench that are more talented than them. And I'll just bring up the example. I brought it up all year long. Flory Badunga should have been playing major minutes, especially early in the season. So at the end of the season, he would be ready for the major minutes when you needed him the most. That didn't happen, except for a little stretch. KJ Adams got hurt. Badunga goes in, plays the best basketball that he played all season long because he got the opportunity. And then he goes in the transfer portal, and I'm sure KU ponied up the big bucks. And he's like, look, I want to be here. But you didn't play me last year over a guy that I'm way more talented than. So if I come back, first of all, you're going to have to pony up the pocketbook. And second of all, I want the minutes. I want the minutes. And he should have gotten the minutes. And KU fans will agree. He should have gotten the minutes. And again, you don't just, okay, he's playing here and that's it. You do it sporadically throughout the year, starting at the beginning of the year. So at the end of the season, when you needed him, he would have been there for you. He would have been ready. But he wasn't ready at the end of the year because he didn't get the consistent minutes of playing 28, 29 minutes a game. He didn't get that. Only for a little stretch, and he played pretty damn good basketball. Again, I feel bad for KJ Adams. Hell, you tear your Achilles on the last play of your college career. Lord have mercy. How does it get worse? I mean, my goodness. I mean, just and I'm not bagging on him. It's not his fault, but if guys are better, guys should just play. I mean, again, it just is what it is. This is competitive athletics, man. This is not participation trophies. If somebody's better, they need to play. No ifs, ands, or buts. KU struggled because of that. Another reason that KU struggled, it was a poorly put together team. The last 2 years, a poorly put together basketball team. And I know some of you, come on, Big B, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I do. And here's the reason why. Number one, KU's living in the transfer portal. And I know a lot of teams out there go and get guys from the transfer portal, but those other teams are not KU. And what I mean by that is KU has been a program you can get the best high school basketball players from all over the country. You have been able to do that. Now, there's going to be some that say, well, the reason they were able to do it because they were paying guys. I've told you guys this once. I'll tell you a million times. Everybody was paying people, okay? Yes, your school too that you think is squeaky clean, they were paying guys too. Now, it may not have been as much. They may not have had the same avenues to do it. But yes, your school too was paying for somebody to come. And I get that KU got caught and they literally did nothing to them. And maybe that's evened up the playing field a little bit. Okay, I can buy that. But it still doesn't defeat the fact like Duke. Duke still gets the best high school basketball players in the country. Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, those blue bloods. They should still be able to, regardless of the transfer portal and all of that. They should still be able to do that. Well, Duke can do it. North Carolina's been able to do it. Kentucky. Kansas has not. Now, they'll get one. They'll get one a year. But where's the multiple guys? And I get it that now it's NIL. It's who can pay me the most. I understand all that. And I know here we're going to get it's ruining college athletics, yada, yada, yada. Well, okay, whatever. I'm tired of fighting that fight. And again, that's a conversation for a different day. But Kansas needs to get back to recruiting the best high school basketball players in the country. And maybe you don't get all 5 stars. Maybe you get one McDonald's All-American. Well, go get you 3 high-level 4-star players. Kansas used to do that and be very, very good. But you're trying to live in the transfer portal, and I don't think Kansas is that type of program. There's some that are. There's some that are not. And I think Kansas, because of the coaching aspect, because they coach and teach and they develop. You could say, well, if you get these guys they still get developed. McDonald's All-Americans, not every single one of those guys is just ready to, okay, I come from high school, I go to college, I'm ready to go to the pros and be a lottery pick. Not every one of those guys is like that. Kansas does a really good job of developing talented guys to be even better. They got to get back to that. Look, another thing is you go into the transfer portal and you get some of these guys, like KU has gotten some of these guys that haven't played basketball at the level of Kansas. And I don't mean at the Big Ten level, the SEC level, the Big 12 level, ACC. I'm not talking about high-level basketball. I'm talking about at the Kansas level of basketball. The lights are brighter at Kansas than they are at a lot of big-time college basketball places. For instance, a Wisconsin, an Iowa, a Virginia. While, that's big-time college basketball, it ain't Kansas. And the lights are a lot brighter, And so when you get into those situations, everybody doesn't react the same. It's different shooting a three-pointer at Kansas than it is shooting a three-pointer, I don't know, at USC. It's just different. And sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, sometimes you hit and miss on those guys, and you think they're going to be good, but when the lights are brighter, man, it's just a different atmosphere. And I think KU has gone into the transfer portal and they've just missed. They've missed the last couple of years and haven't been as good. They don't have the talent, and they're going into a place. And again, I get what the transfer portal is, but you can't miss. That's the difference. And Bill Self has admitted it. Hey, we've missed. Well, you can't. That's another intangible that you have to look at. How do they play in the brightest light? Say you go to some place, St. John's, and you get a guy. Okay. Well, how did they play when the lights were the brightest? Look at those games. Don't just look at throughout the season how they played. Look at them when the lights were the brightest, because that's what every game is at Kansas. That's what every game is. At other schools, it's the brightest light, the biggest star, yada, yada, yada. At Kansas, it's just bigger because it's Kansas. Some kids can handle it, some can't. And the last couple of years, they've missed and haven't been able to do it. And I think they got to get back into the, we're going to start getting kids, high school kids, high-level high school kids, and keep them on campus for a while and build the team that way. Maybe get 2 or 3 transfers from here or there. You can still do that, but you can't be trying to get 6 or 7. Kansas is not that program. And they don't have to be that program. And sometimes, you think where trends are going that you have to just follow the trend. At some places, you don't have to. Duke doesn't do that. They don't follow the trend. And I don't think Kansas has to be a team or a program that follows that trend either. I think they have, and they've paid the price for it. So where do they go? How do they get better? Those are the ways that they can get better. And they may not like this, but their spot atop the Big 12 has been snatched away from them. And I don't even think it's up for debate. And I know, I said this a couple weeks ago when the tournament was going on. I said Houston was the top dog in the conference, and KU fans came in. The comment, they haven't done it for 20 years, and we did it, and all that's true. Houston's only been in the conference for 2. I mean, if you've been in the conference for 2 years and you've dominated the 2 years you've been in it, what else you want? And Kansas has it. It's not like Kansas finished a close second. That hasn't happened. They didn't finish just a close second. Their top, their standings above the top of the Big 12 has been snatched away. Now, can they get it back? Sure they can. It's Kansas. But you're going to have to work because these other teams are getting better. The Texas Techs of the world, the Iowa States of the world, the Arizonas of the world, Lord have mercy, the BYUs of the world. All these teams are doing things to get better. And you might say, well, Big B, those teams live in the transfer portal too. Okay, that's because they have to. Kansas doesn't have to. They've chosen to do it, and I just think it's a mistake. That's all. I think it's a mistake. When you're Kansas and you're going out and get 6 or 7 transfers every year, that's a mistake. You don't have to do that. Get the best high school players available, develop them. Now, are some of those kids going to leave? Yes, they are. That's just the nature of what college basketball is. Then the next year you do the same thing. And you could just continue that cycle. You don't have to be one of the transfer kings. You don't have to be that. And I know that people are going to say, well, if you want to win in the tournament, you got to have old guys. Well, keep your guys around. You got to pay them. Hey, man. Everybody's got to pay something. Everybody's got to do something. We got to stop feeling sorry for ourselves about the way the system is and just live in the system and deal with it. And Kansas' way to deal with it is not getting 6 or 7 guys to the transfer portal every year. You've done that the last 2 years. How'd that work out? Proof is usually in the pudding. How'd that work out? Can't even get out of the first round of the damn tournament. I don't want to hear it, man. You're a better program than this. You've slipped. Face facts. Can you get it back? Yes, you can. But you can't do it by trying to be the transfer king. That's not what KU is. And Bill Self knows that. Got to do a better job. So as far as football, to sum all this up, football and basketball, KU took a step back this year athletically. They did. It's unfortunate because I don't believe they had to, but sometimes it works out. Things go in waves. They go in cycles. You can't always be on top. And like we said, KU has been on top in basketball for decades, especially in this conference. I think they'll be back. I do think they'll be back. Heck, they got what a lot of people think in. So we'll see. We'll see. And I still trust Bill Self. As far as Lance Leipold, everybody's screaming about how great a coach he is. Okay. Well, show me. Now you have an opportunity to show me, because last year was supposed to be your shining achievement, and it was a colossal failure. Now let's see what you do in the face of adversity, because building the program, no adversity, not in my opinion, because nobody thought you were going to be good. You had nowhere to go but up. But then once a little bit of expectations hit you, all of a sudden you fall flat on your face. To me, that's not the sign of a good coach. I'm not saying Lance Leipold is a bad coach. All I'm saying is your program got a little bit of expectations, a little bit of success, and couldn't handle it. As a coach, you got to be able to have them bounce back. Do I think they can? I don't know. I don't have the same confidence in him that I do Bill Self, because I've seen it from Bill Self. I don't know about Lance Leipold. We'll see. Not rooting against him. I'm just saying we'll see. So appreciate you all, man. Thank you for coming in and commenting. The last couple of days, you guys have been rowdy, and I hope you're just as rowdy in this one. And we'll continue taking a look at programs throughout the offseason. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at Kansas State, people. That basketball program is in. We'll just talk about it tomorrow, people. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.